Okay, budgeting is one of the most important skills that you can ever master. It is key. And it is so simple to do. There are some guys who know how to budget, and if you guys know how to budget, you're not really going to need this video. This is for newbies who've never budgeted anything before in their lives, all right? Now, why do you need to budget? Or what's the point of it? Well, very simple. In terms as far as personal finance is concerned. You see, a lot of guys, when they're young, they don't know how to plan their finances, their money. And so what happens is that money problems come at them almost like in a video game, almost at random it seems. And they're constantly just trying to pay off different expenses. And they wind up, of course, broke, okay? Because what happens is that they're approaching finance like a game of whack-a-mole. Expenses pop up, you whack it, you know? Expenses pop up here, pop up there, you whack it, you whack it, you whack it. But they're not planning, they're just reacting. And when you react, well, now, budgeting is key because in the immortal words of Tony Montana in Scarface, you know, first you get the money, then you get the power, and then you get the women, okay? Yeah. To get the money, you need a budget, a financial plan of what you're doing. Now, a lot of times, guys get all like nervous about a budget because they see like some corporate budget of 500 pages, you know, with page after page of deductions and depreciation schedules and what have you. And they're like, holy shit, what the hell is this? I mean, a budget is fundamentally very simple. A budget is simply nothing more and nothing less than the register and projection of future incomes against future expenses. That's it. You know, the money you're going to get in the future and the expenses you're going to have in the future. Nothing more complicated. Now, why is budgeting so useful as a mental exercise? And that's very simple. When you have everything on a spreadsheet, okay, every little cell on a spreadsheet, you can look at that expense or that income item and you can start playing with it. You can dissect it as if it were an insect. Okay? And you'll learn that by putting your expenses each in their own little cell, you could start figuring out, well, if this is an expense, how do I minimize this expense? And if it's an income, you say, how do I expand this, make it bigger? Make that number, instead of being 1, make it 2, or better yet 3. How do I do that? And so that's what it helps. It helps mental clarity. It helps you focus. You're not like randomly thrashing around like some, you know, incredible drum player smacking every expense. No. You're looking at it spread out in front of you like a scientist dissecting an insect. You know, when you dissect an insect, you know, the insect doesn't fucking move. It's dead. It's right there, spread out in front of you. Okay? And so you can take all the time you need to figure out the different things about it. See, same with a budget. We're going to get started right now. All right. Now here, I've already, I already did this thing, okay, but I just show you what you have to do. Each of these things, you change it as you see fit. On the top here, you do the months, January, February, March, all the way through December. You want to start now in the month of June, or yeah, June it is. Start in June, it doesn't matter, okay? This is just basically a year. The important thing is this one, year-end total, okay? And of course, the first month. Because all the rest that's going to get filled up here, they're just a repetition of this first column, okay? Now, what's in this first column? Well, you have income. That is your salary, okay? That's your salary. But from your salary, you have to discount certain expenses, federal tax, state tax. Now here, I'm using the state of California. In point of fact, all of the information here is based on averages from the state of California, okay? Now, here we have FICA. FICA is the tax on Social Security. Now, Social Security is supposed to have a trust fund, but there is no such trust fund. What it is basically is the people who are paying in now, their money goes to pay the retirees who are currently drawing funds. So what does that mean? Because of our population, and it has already peaked and it's slowly sliding down, that means that when you retire, there aren't going to be enough workers to pay for your Social Security benefits. Therefore, you have to start planning now, budgeting now, how you're going to pay for your own retirement. Because the government is not going to help you. These 401k schemes, they're not going to help you. In point of fact, the people who invented the 401k schemes have figured out that they actually don't work. Okay, the only thing at the end of the day that really works is savings. Okay? Now, FICA tax, here we're going to wind up with your net income. Now your expenses. Savings, 25% of your salary. As I said in a different video, during your 20s, you want to be saving 25% of your salary, and you can save that money. And I'm going to show you right here and now how you can save it, okay, regardless of your income and regardless of your expenses. So long as you have a fairly decent income, okay, that's above minimum wage, you can save 25% of your salary. We'll get to it in a second. Student debt, I'm going to assume that you have that on your back. Then you have rent, water, electric, cable, internet, heating, food, right? Those are your just, you know, the things that you need. Then you have car payments, car insurance, gasoline, and here in this little cluster is basically entertainment. You have gym, entertainment, movies, discos, whatever, drinks, clothes, and here we're going to wind up with total expenses. Okay, now this monthly total, actually I should call it monthly net. Okay, well, we're going to get to that in just a second, and here we are. Oops. And here we are. This is your salary. $3,000 a month. Because we're going to posit that you're earning $36,000 a year at some fairly decent job, some office job of some sort, something that you're qualified and that you do fairly well. $36,000 as a starting salary in the state of California, say in Los Angeles, that's perfectly respectable and it's perfectly achievable. But from that, you got your federal tax, state tax, and FICA. So you're not earning $3,000, you're earning $24,000, $23,000. That is your net income for the year. Okay? And you spread it out, I mean per month rather, and you spread it out over the year, and yeah, sure, they said we'll pay you $36,000, but the net, it's going to be $29,076. That is your net salary. Whenever you talk about salary, whenever you think about salary, always talk and think in net terms, okay? Because it's all good and fine to be talking about earning $36,000 a year, but you're not really earning $36,000 a year now, are you? You're earning just over $29,000. $7,000, bye-bye to the tax man, okay? So be honest with yourself. Don't aggrandize yourself in saying I'm earning 36. Be honest and say I'm earning 29 because that's what you're earning. Now your expenses, let's get to that. Your expenses, here I put like an initial approach. You're paying $350 in student debt. Okay, you're paying $700 in rent. Water, electric, cable, internet, heating. I put these fairly, not arbitrary figures because they're sort of accurate. In some places in California, you're never going to have a heating bill because, you know, the climate doesn't require heating, but you are going to have a higher electric bill because of AC. You know, the total of these expenses is roughly 20% of your rent, and that's fairly reasonable, okay? Now, your rent is $700, and you're paying an additional $145 in different expenses. Now, food. How did I get to this figure of $450? Now, this is food that you buy at the grocery store and that you cook for yourself. Not pre-processed food, not prepackaged food, not restaurants. Certainly not restaurants. This is raw food that you cook yourself. $450 is reasonable for one person. That's basically $100 a week. The month has 4.5 weeks, so $450 a month in food. You can get by with that easily, okay? Car payments. The average in the state of California for a car payment is $479. The average car insurance in the state of California is $164. Price of gasoline. I put $150, and I'll explain how. In California, a gallon of gasoline costs $2.50, roughly. And in California, cars in general, the average, have about 25 miles to the gallon. So basically, you're paying 10 cents for the mile, right? 10 cents for the mile. Now, suppose, for the sake of argument, that your job is 25 miles away. In LA, that's, you know, it happens all the time. So it's 25 miles away. That means that you're driving 25 miles to work, 25 back. That's 50 miles. 50 miles per day, per work day. You have 20 work days in the month, so that's 1,000 miles. 1,000 miles times 10 cents, that's $100. That's what you're paying in gasoline just to get to work. Now kick in another $50 per month, 500 miles. You know, because you go here, you go there, you go grocery shopping, you go to visit your friends, it doesn't matter why. Just kick it in, you know, and so there you have it. $150 in gasoline. Now, gym, entertainment, clothes, we're going to leave that at 0 because of this. Total expenses. Your total expenses, spending 0 on gym, 0 on entertainment, 0 on clothes, and forget about furniture or anything like that, is $2,423 per month. You have a net deficit of $15 per month. And this is bare existence, okay? Now, if you were living like the whack-a-mole financial life, you wouldn't even realize this. And what you would do for the times that you're short on money, you'd zip it on your credit card. Now, I'm gonna rant now, okay? Credit cards are the most convenient product you can ever have, and yet at the same time, they are the most dangerous and evil thing that you can ever have, insofar as financial products are concerned. See, what happens if you crash your car and it's your fault, and your insurance won't pay for it? If you have a credit card with a high enough limit, you can use the credit card to fix your car, and so you won't miss a day of work. You'll be able to get to work, and therefore it won't affect your income, and slowly you'll pay off this credit card debt. What happens if you have some, medical problem of some sort? What happens if whatever problem you have that's, unexpected? A credit card is the best tool in the world, financially speaking, of course. Yeah, zip, zip, and the problem doesn't go away. It's postponed. It gives you breathing room. You're paying the interest on the credit card and gives you breathing room. And that's great. So a credit card is fantastic for the emergency, but not for the day-to-day. No, not for the day-to-day. See, when you go grocery shopping and you use your credit card, and say your grocery bill, for the sake of argument, is $100, and maybe the credit card fee is, I don't know, $3, just for the sake of argument. $3, and you're spending $100 a week on food. So that means over a year's time, those $3 become $150. That's the reality of it. See? The little expense of that credit card adds up grotesquely and incredibly quickly. And if you find yourself that in order to live the lifestyle that you want, you depend on a credit card, well, then you're going to be on what I call a bicycle. See, because what will happen is that, you're going to accrue credit card debt. Say every month you accrue $200 worth of credit card debt. Every month. Because that's basically what you're short on. And you're thinking to yourself, at some point in the future, you'll get like a tax refund, or you'll get a better job, or a bump up in your salary, and you'll be able to pay off your credit card debt, right? You think that you'll be able to do that. And maybe you can, but what will happen is that, you'll be used to spending more money. And if you get a bump up in your salary, you'll spend even more money because you'll feel that you have more money. And so what will happen is that $200 a month that you are spending on your credit card, well, tack on the interest. So it won't be $200, it'll be, $215. And then it'll be, the next month, it won't be $415, it'll be $430. And it'll just keep growing and growing. And all of a sudden you'll find out that you can't get out of that hole. And then you'll start using another credit card to pay off the first credit card. But then, that new credit card that you use to pay off the old one, that tacks on some interest some more, and you're gonna go broke. Eventually it's inevitable, okay? And see, that's how the system is designed, because the guys who are making the credit cards, the banks, they want you to go, no, they don't want you to go bankrupt. They want you to be debt slaves. They want you to load up on credit card debt and pay it every month, because every month of interest is money that goes to their pockets. Don't be that guy, Don't be that guy who is paying Wall Streeters their salary. Be smart. Use a credit card. Get a credit card. Use it for what's smart, what's necessary. Don't use it as a part of your existence. Keep it in your back pocket as just when it's needed. That's it. Okay? Now, let's continue with this. As you can see here, this is bare existence. Now, here I've stretched it out for the whole month. And as you can see, your total income net is $29,076. Your total expenses is $29,256. That is a shortfall of $180. That's your shortfall. Okay, and you have saved $0, and you have no entertainment whatsoever. This is what is known as bare existence. You are simply living. No, let me phrase it. You're not living. You are simply existing in the world. and you have nothing to look forward to, and you're just a cog in a machine. You could be replaced by a robot and nobody would even notice, okay? You have no entertainment, you have no savings. If you lose your job, you are fucked, because since you have no savings, what are you gonna do, right? Okay, so how do we start to fix this? Now, in the car payment section, that's the average car payment in the state of California, $479. Now, look on this website. Here we have the 2017 Chevrolet Cruze Premier. Its manufactured suggested retail price is $29,525. The net after rebates and all the rest of it, the out-of-pocket expenses is $28,13. Now, let's go to a car payment calculator. $28,13 at 2.9% interest rate, which is what the Chevy dealership there was giving. That's $430, right, per month. Now that's below the state average of $479, which I didn't put in the thing. But here's the thing: that's for a 2017 car. Do you need a new car? Okay. Now that's a mid-sized, fairly run-of-the-mill car. It's durable. It's a good car, but do you need it to be new? Because here's the thing. That's a new car. Here are the used cars. This 2017 Cruze Premier, $29,500. This 2015 Cruze Premier, or LT, sorry, is $16,816. Nearly half the price. It's a 2-year-old car, but that's the thing about cars. They depreciate 30% once you drive it off the lot. Okay, that's 30% of its value out the window. Why do you want to pay that? Especially because this car, this used car, this 2-year-old car, right? This 2-year-old car has a guarantee from the dealership. Now, you're going to be paying it over a 6-year period, 72 months, right? Because that's what I was using for the calculations. But this car is easily going to last you 6 years. Yeah, it's easily going to last you 6 years. And for probably 3 to 5 of those years, it's going to have a full guarantee, bumper-to-bumper guarantee from the dealership. So it's a smart buy. So instead of paying nearly $30,000, you're going to be paying $16,816, right? Automatically, your payment goes down to $257.29. Let's plug that in, shall we? $260. All of a sudden, you're $200 in the black. Look at that. See? So you're driving a 2-year-old car. Who gives a shit? Yeah? Is it a good car? Does it break down? No, it doesn't. It has a guarantee. Who gives a shit if it's 2 years old? Nobody. Yeah? I mean, nobody cares. Okay? You care. But you have to think to yourself, you have to be rational. Because on the one hand, you want to have a new car because of your ego, you got a good job, why not? But you have to think rationally, see? You can't be controlled by emotions. Women, children, they can be controlled by their emotions. They are controlled by their emotions and their whims. Men aren't. Men control their whims, control their emotions. My own ego, of course, I want to be driving a new car, brand new car, smelling as clean and lovely as a virgin, yes. But I don't need a new car when it's half the price. Okay, so think, right? So all of a sudden, you're saving $200. Where do those $200 go? Your savings. And you're saying, Coach, why don't we, put some of that money into a gym or entertainment or clothes? Fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. And I'll explain why. You see, we started here with a survival budget. You are simply existing, right? On a $36,000 a year salary, but you're not saving any money, right? Now, what happens when you lose that job? Okay? You lose that job, you're fucked. Just by the sake of saving $200, all of a sudden, if you look here at the end of the year, you have $2,400 saved. So in a year's time, you're going to be able to pay for a whole entire month. You basically saved yourself 1 month of expenses, okay? And that's the beauty of savings. You build a buffer in case of any emergency, in case of any catastrophe. I talked before about how a credit card is very useful in case of an emergency. It is useful, but you are paying interest. But if you have actual savings, cash savings in the bank, it's a real buffer. It is worth more than a gym or movies or restaurants or nice clothes, okay? Let's continue, because we're gonna fix the situation with the gym, don't worry. Now, the car payments, we've lowered them, fine. Now, can we lower the car insurance? Actually, we can, because $164 is the average. I looked around, and in California, you can get, for that type of car, you can get a car insurance for 130 bucks. For 130 bucks. And that's like, a few dollars worth of savings, $30 worth of savings. And you say to yourself, well, it's only $30. Well, it's only $30. If you walk down the street and you saw 3 10s lying on the ground, would you, deign to stoop to pick it up? Oh my God, there was $30 on the floor, and they were all dirty and muddy, and ooh, I don't want to get my hands dirty. So I just walked on by and left those 30 bucks behind. You know what I would say to you if you said that to me? I'd say you're a fucking idiot. Obviously, I'd say you're a fucking idiot, especially if you think about it, because after a year, 30 bucks a month is $360 in a year. So of course you're going to try to save on car insurance, okay? Of course you're going to try to save in everything that you can. Now, in the gasoline issue, this was a hypothetical, and so we'll leave it at that. Let's just say for the sake of argument that you can't lower it, okay? But you could lower your car insurance, okay? And so you did. You looked around. And how long did it take me, by the way, to go from the average of $164 to $130? How long did it take me? It took me about 10 minutes of surfing the web. And I got to the page where I was all set. All I had to do was put in the license plate number and my own driver's license, and I could, get a quote and get it all going. And I'd be paying 130 bucks as opposed to, actually it was 129 and change as opposed to 164. So you see, it's just a few minutes and you're saving yourself $360 a year, So you see, think of it as cost benefit. I mean, think of it in terms of hourly wages. What job on earth pays you $360 per year for 10 minutes worth of work? I don't know of any. Do you? Okay. So you're lowering your costs here. Now, rent. That's the other big expense that you got. Okay. Rent, you're paying $700. Now, rent is paying $700, and you say, well, yeah, because it's my own place. It's in this nice area. Good restaurants, nice shops. And to that, I say to you, well, what good is having nice restaurants and nice shops around where you live when you can't go to those fucking places except if you use your credit card to go into debt that will bankrupt you? What good is living in this nice neighborhood, if you can't enjoy it? You see what I mean? Wouldn't it be better to live in a not so nice neighborhood where you actually could go to the restaurants around there? Huh? You see my point, see? Your ego is making you do things that are not rational. Do the rational thing. Live in a cheaper area. Say a cheaper area is, for the sake of argument, instead of $700, it's say $550 a month. Okay? All of a sudden, you've saved $150 per month. $150 per month over 12 months, how much is that? It's $1,800 a year. $1,800 per year. That is practically a whole month's of expenses saved. So you start to see, your ego is forcing you to pay $700 when you can live in a lower middle class area, perhaps not a nice area, and not an area where you're going to get knifed if you're walking down the street at 12 at night, but not a nice place, not a place that you're like cool. But so what? See, your job is not to be cool. Your job, your mission in life is to make it, to move forward, okay? And the time that you're spending in your 20s is not a time to be cool. Fucking loser high school punks want to be cool. When you are a 22, 23, 25-year-old kid, fresh out of college, you want to be building a life so that you can enjoy it when you are 35, 45, 55. Okay? Blowing money when you're young just to look cool. Who's going to know? Who's going to care? Oh yeah, John Smith, he's not very cool, but he's got like a lot of money in the bank, the fucking bastard. At best, that's what people are going to say. See? So don't worry about looking cool or living in the cool area. Worry about what's important, which is saving money and having a buffer. Okay? Let's continue. So you're living at $550 in rent. But here's the thing. What if, say you're 25, and maybe you don't have a girlfriend, do have a girlfriend, it doesn't matter. But say for the sake of argument that, you find out that some guys are renting a house, and they're okay guys, co-workers or guys from the gym or whatever. We'll get to the gym in a second because we're going to add that on in just a bit. But these people, and they're thinking, there's this big house and we're thinking of like moving in together and save on expenses. You do it. You grab that opportunity because, they want to rent a house, 3-4 guys, instead of paying $550, you're paying all of a sudden, say, $400. And it's furnished, so you don't have to worry about that. You see my point, and you're saving money. All of a sudden, you went from $700 down to $400, and you're going to be living with some other guys. But frankly, ask yourself this: how much time do you spend at home? I mean, you're going to work every day, right? And you're doing different things. Is it necessary? That's the point. If it's not necessary, then don't do it. All of a sudden, you're saving money, and look here, the excedent is $338. Where do you put that money? Fucking A, that's where you put it. Savings. But before we get there, you can't live like a monk. You can't live like a monk. You have to give yourself a little bit of, a reward, a little bit of a carrot, right? So let's go down to the gym. You want to go to a decent gym, first of all, you don't need a gym, okay? You want to lift weights and you want to go running, right? That's what's good for you. How much is a set of used barbells on Craigslist? $50. How much are a pair of good running shoes? $50. For $100, you're set. And $100 and that's it. You don't have to pay monthly fees. That's it. $100. You got your barbells, you got your weights, you got your running shoes. What more do you need out of life? Insofar as, physical conditioning is concerned, okay? Sure, it's great to use the latest machines and this and that and the ones that, check how many calories you burn and all that crap, right? But it's all crap. It's all, bells and whistles that you don't really need, okay? So before you go and sign up for a gym, figure out if, you much prefer to just, buy used equipment, buy a good pair of running shoes and leave it at that, okay? You don't need a gym, okay? Now, of course, say that a gym, the nice gym in your neighborhood, has all the latest equipment and you meet nice people and it has a pool. Well, okay, let's say it's $50. $50, that's perfectly respectable, okay? You still have $288 excedent, okay? Where do you put this $288 excedent? Here, savings. You go from saving $200 a month to saving $450, okay? And that $450 a month, it's still not a quarter of your net income. A quarter of your net income would be $606, right? You're still $156 away from that net income. You still you're still not at your target of saving a quarter of your salary, but with $450 that you're saving per month, you're going to be at $5,400 per year. $5,400 per year is 2.5 months. If you lose your job, you'll be able to survive for 2.5 months, almost 3 months. That peace of mind, the only thing that can buy that peace of mind is savings, and you want that. And here's the other thing, of course. If you never lose your job, if everything goes smooth and you go from job to job or you climb the ladder in your own firm or whatever, that saving will keep on growing, right? And so in 2-3 years, you're going to have enough for a down payment on a house. See? Because that's your goal. Your goal as a young man is to get together the cash for a down payment on a rental property. Not a house where you live. No. You buy a place and you rent it. And you live like a fucking monk. Living in a house that you share with a couple of other guys. Maybe you think that they're assholes. It doesn't matter. Okay? Your goal is to get together a portfolio of rental properties. That's what your goal is, that your mind is set on that goal. You save enough money, in 2-3 years you have enough for a down payment, a substantial down payment, a down payment that is enough that any bank will say, yes sir, here's the check. And you'll be fine. You'll get a good rate because it'll be a substantial down payment, good rate, and everything will be lovely. You see my point? See, so there is a reason to saving money. It helps you, okay? So that's what your mind should be thinking all the time. Saving money. Oops, I'm gonna fix this real quick. Okay, there I changed it to blue so that it's more obvious. Okay, savings, $5,400. Okay, you're not quite where you want to be, but you're getting there. Okay, let's move on. Now, we seem to have like a fairly Spartan lifestyle. We're living in a fairly cheap place. We're driving a 2-year-old car. We're going to the gym, but other than that, we really don't have any kind of luxury. But we are saving $450 a month, which is substantial. And by the way, you don't play the stock market with it, you don't play the bond market, you don't know what you're doing with those two, and that's the quickest way to get fleeced. It's like playing the casino. You go to the casino and you're going to lose your money. What's the point of that? Okay? Don't invest in anything because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Okay? Just stick it in a savings account. It doesn't pay any interest. Who gives a shit? Okay? It's safe. Just stick it in the bank and forget it. Okay? Okay. Now, here we have the issue of salary. You want more money. You need more money because you want to save more, right? You want to save more because you can't really shrink any of your expenses so far. I mean, you've pretty much gotten to the bare bones. You're living a Spartan lifestyle with fairly limited, entertainment and what have you. So you're not doing anything stupid. You're saving like a good boy. You want to up your money, your income. So there are basically 2 ways to do that. Okay, now one way is to get your current employer to up your salary, or of course get hired away by another company that pays you more money. That's one way. That is the current job that you have, or the current field that you're in pays you more money somehow. The other way is to set up a secondary business. Now this is extremely useful and that you should be considering, right now that you have a good job. Okay, now say for the sake of argument that you like to do woodworking and you have this neighbor, and the neighbor, you got to talking one time with your neighbor and he said, oh, I need a dinette set or whatever and I don't want to pay like $300, and you're like, hey, pay me $300 or $200 and I'll make you a dinette set. I know how to do it. Great, he says, and you go and you know what you're doing insofar as woodworking, so you build him a dinette set. And you clear, say for the sake of argument, $200, and it took you like a month of weekends to do it, yeah. And you say, oh, that's nice, little money in my pocket. No, it's a future business. It's a future business, okay? See, you're in your regular job, right? And on the weekends you do this woodworking thing. Now, say you lose your job. Okay, and you start looking for a new job, and you have your savings, so you're okay. You're thinking, oh, I can last 2, 3, 4 months with my savings. It's fine. Now, I myself have never had a 9-to-5 job, but friends of mine have, and they've told me that when they've lost their jobs and they're looking for a new job, there are a hell of a lot of downtime. Okay, and a lot of them fell into depression during that downtime because they had nothing to do. See? And so this is where your side business comes in. Say you're doing woodworking gigs, and you pick up 1 gig here, 1 gig there. It averages to about 1 a month, and you score a couple $100 doing whatever, or maybe it's mowing the lawns, as basic as that. It doesn't matter. Just some secondary activity that fills up your weekend. With something that you enjoy, perhaps, it doesn't matter. If you lose your job, you can ramp it up. And it'll eat up a lot more of your time and generate some income. Perhaps not a lot, but enough that it's something that's coming in while you're looking for another job. You see what I mean? And see, there's nothing worse than sitting at home waiting for a phone call. Okay? Men were not built for that. Men were built to go out and get stuff. Men were built to go with their spear and kill the mastodon. Yeah? Men were not built to, sit by the phone staring at it waiting. No, that's not how we're built, okay? And you will go insane, or more likely, you will get incredibly depressed. So you build a secondary business, and of course, you do it while you're gainfully employed with your $36,000 a year job, which is actually $29,000. But say you score a couple of hundred every month, okay? You score a couple of hundred every month, and what does that mean? At the end of the year, it's going to be $2,400. You see? 2,400, and where does this 2,400 go? Oh, you read my mind, my son. It goes right there. It goes right there, and there you have it. There you have cleared, you have achieved a quarter of your net income. And you say to me, well, what about the 200? 200 plus 24, 23, that's 26, 23, so shouldn't this be 656? Well, yeah, it should. Fine. We'll put 656, 656. That really is 25% of your net income. And you have $32 at the end of every month for entertainment and clothes, which is the one category that we've missed here. But you can keep on fooling around with this, but here's my point. See, you set up a budget and you can see the reality of your situation. That's the whole point of it, okay? Now, this is just a hypothetical example. I just pulled it out of my ass, okay? And there are a lot of expenses here that I'm not including, like health insurance and what have you, because in this case, I'm assuming that your job is providing you some sort of health insurance. But my point is, see, this can help you. Just doing the exercise can clarify. Now, here's another thing it can clarify. This is all based on California, right? California is a very expensive state. Now, say you get a job offer from California for $36,000 a year, okay? But say at the same time you get a job offer for $30,000 in New Hampshire. And you're going to be, well, you're going to say, of course, I'm going to go to California, it's $6,000 more. No, you go to New Hampshire. Because New Hampshire, number one, doesn't have state income tax. And number two, the cost of living is much lower in New Hampshire. You know, you don't have these gargantuan gasoline bills. For instance, because it's a small state, you don't drive that much. You know, your job, you know, it's not that far away. You see my point? So you see, this helps you figure out stuff. Now, of course, this whole thing is for newbies. Guys who know about budgeting are going to look at this and say, well, you know, this is really simplistic. You know, a lot of things that he hasn't done. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But for a newbie, this is how you do it. And it's not complicated. It seems complicated. You look at it at first and it just splashes you like cold water to the face. You know, all these numbers and you're like, what the hell does this mean? And all you have to do is just be a little bit patient, okay? The numbers tell a story. The numbers can help you, okay? The numbers can help you, and see, they show you that with a little bit of a planning, you know, you're not gonna be trying to whack down every expense that comes your way, because rather than being, you know, thrashing about, you're going to be able to see those expenses coming at you. And you're going to be able to see them coming at you, you know, miles and miles away or months and months away. So you're going to be able to plan, adjust, okay? This is just a template to help you out. You change it as you see fit, you know. But my point is that each one of these cells can be adjusted and improved so that your nets improve. See, this figure, 78, 72, that is fucking close to 4 months of living expenses. If you look at, you know, your student debt and your car payments, that there is $1,800, $1,885 total. See, 78, 72, what's that? Close to 4 months of your expenses. Actually, more than 4 months of your expenses. And that's assuming you can't find a job for 4 fucking months, which is, you know, it's not going to happen because you'll find something much sooner. And here's the other thing. You keep on doing this. In 3 years, you're going to have close to 24 grand cash in hand. You take that 24 grand and you can buy yourself a rental property. You know, not a big one, not a massive thing, it's just a little thing. And you start accruing property, see? And so by the time you're an old fart like me, by the time you're 65, you're not worried about retirement. You know what you're gonna do, you're set, okay? So my man, this is what you have to do now. You have to start planning now and using this tool. It's just a tool, but it's a tool that helps organize your mind. It organizes your mind and helps you organize your money because, like I said at the beginning of this thing, you're just like Tony Montana. First, you get the money. First, then you get the power, and then you get the women.